This video is the era of the psychopath. To understand the concept of the era of the psychopath, we first have to deal with what is a psychopath. About 1 in 100 human beings are psychopaths, and they are distinct in that they don't have empathy. So they don't connect with people, and they don't form normal relationships, and they are completely detached. They are not the people presented generally in film and TV. And in fact, most psychopaths, the same proportion of psychopaths are violent as normal people are violent. The British, I think it is, make the distinction between a sociopath and a psychopath, and the main distinction, as far as I remember, is that the sociopath is the non-violent one and the psychopath is the violent one. If I'm honest, I'm going to just stick with psychopath, referring to violent and non-violent. Like I said, because human beings, a percentage of us have natural violence in us, and same as whether you're a psychopath or a normal sort of pack animal version of a human being. So psychopaths can't connect. And I don't know if you watching this have ever had a period in your life where you've moved to a new place, you don't have connections, you don't have people around you, but it's a very, very lonely experience. And you feel a big hole inside you, and you fill that gradually with relationships. And imagine if you're a being that biologically needs to fill that hole, but you can't make connections, and you can't have relationships. So what happens with these people is they tend to fill it up with a desire for power and control, and they look for entertainment. Um, but power and control are big parts of it, and some of those people bring their power and control over to the violent side, but a lot of them don't. And of course, if you're a smart psychopath, you learn quite young that you're different, and you learn to conceal that you're different. And one of the biggest traits that psychopaths have is that they will tend to be, especially smart ones, better liars than the rest of us. If I'm trying to lie to you and I'm an ordinary human being, standard pack animal, everyday human being, I am going to look uncomfortable because or at least you're going to notice something is slightly wrong. You're going to have a bad feeling a lot of the time because I don't want to get caught in a lie. It matters to me. It matters to me my status with my peers, things like that. None of those things are true in a psychopath, so they're going to not worry about it. They are going to be a very, very good liar simply because they don't care if you catch them out. There's no emotional connection there, so they can detach from the lie. When you have a look at Western democracies, the ability to lie without people realizing you're lying is the primary indicator of whether somebody, along with charm, primary indicator of whether somebody's going to be a successful politician. Um, to be able to lie is a big bonus. So that is a psychopath, somebody who can look you in the eye, lie to you with no discomfort whatsoever, not even having to conceal discomfort. They just straight out lie. Don't care about you at all. You matter to them as much as a mouse. A computer mouse matters to a person. As an object, you might be useful. You might even be one of their favorite objects, but you're still an object, and you're still ultimately disposable and replaceable. So it's 1/100th of the population. They're very, very different from you and I. But the wrong reaction is to be afraid. the right reaction is to feel sorry for them because they have this big gaping hole inside that can only be filled up with this aggressive quest for power for the most part, and um, thereby well, sorry, therein you find their motivation. Um, you've got people who don't care about you and just want power and control. So that ends up with your world is run by psychopaths. If you want to do well in most of the multinationals that are around the world, um, whether it's mining, where you are sending people down pits who are going to get extreme health problems and you're fully aware of it, but the profits of your company depend on you on you keeping your costs down. So you manage to put that somehow in the back of your mind, and if you're a psychopath, you're going to be better at making those decisions. You're going to sleep like a baby at night. Let's say you sell a small tube of tobacco with a heavy amount of carcinogens in it. You will feel nothing for making that as addictive as humanly possible, knowing that your product kills people. And you will actively try and get people hooked as young as possible, and you will profit off them all the way till your till their death, and then you will claim that there's no evidence that your product does any damage, despite the fact you've got plenty of research that shows that it does. You can be the CEO of a company that makes fast food, which you know is putting addictive chemicals into the food that make people not only crave the food more when they smell it, but without a doubt make the people want more of the food when they've just finished it. That is an advantage in your business, and your job is to get people to buy as much of the product as possible. So if you are maybe a compassionate human being, you want people to be healthy. But if you're a psychopath, then well, you don't care. You just want to make the money. Um, so it doesn't matter what industry you look at. If you look at the food production industry, where they factory farm animals, and if you spend any time with animals, whether it's a cow, whether it's a dog, you find really compassionate creatures, really sweet thinking, feeling creatures, and you're putting them into a factory to grow and get chopped up, a life of pure pain. And you have to be some kind of psychopath to think that's okay. So we create not only a political system which benefits psychopaths, but we create a business system which benefits psychopaths and allows them to rise up to the top and influence everything about our world. And you have a look around, talk to non-propagandized people, anybody who accepts that climate change is a real problem and that we are probably a major cause of it, and so we should probably do something about it. Um, and people will go, yeah, absolutely, let's go ahead. Um, and then what you will have is you will have let's do whatever is necessary, and then you will have people who are in charge of major corporations, and they will go out there and specifically market that the only way to change things is for individuals to change their habits, whereas that is patently untrue. The way to change things is for the companies themselves to lobby governments for new regulations. So if I have a company that transports things in plastic because it's cheap, soft drinks in plastic because it's cheaper than transporting them in glass, but transporting them in glass would be more eco-friendly. I can't change over unless everyone is forced to change over as well. I can't do that because then price-wise I'm being gouged, or yeah, I'm gouging the customer and they move over to a different product, or I'm returning less to my investors than my competing companies. Their share price goes up, my share price goes down, and next thing you know, I'm in a hostile takeover, and I'm fired, and my investors, their shares get absorbed into the new company, and they don't do as well. So you need to change regulation. You can't just expect companies to do things on their own because it is to their disadvantage. What you can expect them to do is pretend that they're doing something, using great marketing and PR whilst doing nothing, because the great marketing and PR is a much, much smaller cost than actually doing something. So these are the reactions you get. Now, if you don't have psychopaths in charge and you've got responsible human beings who understand that this is a really important thing, um, either climate change or alternatively huge amounts of plastic in our food supply and everything's food supply, or the fact that wild animals have very little space anymore, and so they're encroaching into city habitats and they're helping to spread, oh, I don't know, coronaviruses. All of these things are caused because we have psychopaths in charge, both in our governments and in our major corporations. Very occasionally, it is probably possible for somebody who's not a psychopath to rise to the top, but it's got to be somebody who's emulating being a psychopath, because the traits of a psychopath are what a corporation wants. It wants, with within theoretically the boundaries of the law, the maximum possible income. Okay, that's what it wants. That's what the investors want. In truth, actually, it's the maximum possible income that you can make within or without the law, okay, or even outside the law, bearing in mind the calculations of what sort of fines you will face if you are caught and the percentage chance of being caught. That's realistically what corporations do. Since corporations found out that anything they do won't destroy the company in the modern era, people won't turn on a company for a long period of time. I think when Volkswagen was caught with their emissions, faking, what did they have, 3 or 6 months of slightly depressed sales and everything was back to normal? I don't even think it was that bad. I don't even think it was 3 or 6 months. So we have created systems that mean that psychopaths move to the top. And the only way to reverse it is to rebuild and change the systems. So we get to our next part, which is this, and it's really, really an important part of all of this. Am I some sort of head case? Well, um, who knows? Possibly. I'm talking to a camera and hand putting up a small piece of paper with crayon writing, and I do that because nobody should be taken too seriously. So it's a good way to start out all this stuff. Um, but you should do your own research. As I advance these videos a little bit more, I'm going to be including reading lists, great places to go to get good information, um, and we'll muddle through that kind of stuff because I'm an amateur. This is new to me. I think that's pretty much it on the opening of the era of the psychopath. I just want to mention at the end, in case it didn't come up in anything I've said so far, that it's not bad enough that 1 in 100 human beings are psychopaths, and we've created systems that make things better for psychopaths, easier for psychopaths to advance and become powerful than ordinary people. But every time you create a new company, you're creating a new psychopath. You're creating an entity that can act like a person that has no conscience. And so the only way to get that thing to act like it has a conscience is to put somebody with a conscience in charge. Um, well, as we've just described, the people who are going to move to top of the biggest companies, the most successful companies, are not going to be people of conscience or empathy. They're going to be psychopaths. Yeah, that's it.